Stop him!
The story is about a teacher named Will who gets involved with a gang of killers but slowly learns the truth and decides he must leave the gang no matter what. It begins with a businessman visiting a secret location and giving information about a gang whose job is to kill people. After leaving, he feels someone is following him, so he rushes to his car. Before he can drive away, another car crashes into him and he tries to escape again, but the second car hits him hard and he falls out, dying on the spot. On the other side, we meet Will, an English teacher, who is out for dinner with his wife Laura, and they are happy to spend time together after a long period. Laura is a musician, and while they enjoy dinner, Will notices on TV that a businessman has died. He does not think much about it and goes back to dancing with Laura. Later, his best friend Jimmy joins them with his wife, and they laugh and dance. After dinner, Laura leaves for her music practice while Will and Jimmy play chess. That night, on her way back, Laura is followed by a man who points a gun at her, attacks her, and drags her to his car. He beats her until she falls and assaults her. Will gets a message on his phone telling him to rush to the hospital. He arrives and sees Laura in critical condition, barely breathing and covered in injuries. He is shocked and worried. Jimmy arrives with a girl named Tootie trying to calm him and says the police will catch the attacker soon. Then they leave and Will is left alone and upset. Soon, a man named Simon arrives and sits behind Will saying, "What happened to Laura was horrible." He introduces himself and tells Will that something similar happened to him years ago. Simon explains that the attacker is a dangerous criminal named House, who always tricks the law and gets away. He says if they rely on the police, Laura will have to go to court repeatedly and House will escape. Simon offers another option. He works with an organization that punishes criminals like House, and Laura will never go to court again. Will asks what he must do in return, and Simon says nothing now, but in the future he must follow their instructions. Will hesitates but thinks about Laura and agrees. Simon says to complete the deal, Will must buy 2 chocolate bars from a vending machine, so he goes and does it while others are around. The deal is sealed.
I just figure if you're going to have a treat, you just want to have something that's worth it, huh?
That night, House returns home, but another man comes and shoots him after a fight. The next day, a man from an insurance company brings Will an envelope with Laura's necklace and a photo of House's dead body. Will goes to Laura and tells her the man who hurt her is dead. She feels a little better, and when discharged, they go home. Will promises to protect her and changes all the locks. 6 months later, Laura says she wants to keep a gun. Will says no because it is dangerous, but she begins taking shooting lessons and carries pepper spray while Will watches closely to keep her safe. One day, Simon calls Will and asks him to go to a location. When Will arrives, Simon tells him to buy 2 gums from a shop and then come in through the back door. Will notices Simon waiting in his car, so he follows the instructions. Once inside, Simon gives Will an envelope and tells him to post it the next evening at exactly 4:15. Will agrees, but the next day Simon calls again and says not to post it. When Will opens it, he finds a picture of a man and his whole family. He asks Simon what it means, and Simon explains that the man will go to the local zoo with his family and Will must follow them and report everything. Will is confused but reluctantly begins following them. While following, Will watches the man and his family and informs Simon, then leaves.
Things that we do daily to take a look at them.
Later, he sees a phone number written on a board and realizes Simon has been tracking him. He calls the number while leaving school and finds Simon waiting outside. Will angrily confronts him, saying he will no longer do any work because Simon violated his privacy. Simon reminds him of the promise he made, and Will stays silent. Simon leaves, and shortly after, another man delivers an envelope. Inside is a full file on the man he was following. Simon calls again and says Will must kill this man because he is a dangerous criminal and their organization handles such people. Will refuses and says he will never do it. Despite this, he feels Simon's threats everywhere. He goes about daily life but feels watched all the time. One day, Simon appears while Will is out for dinner with Laura. Will is scared, but Simon pretends to be an old friend and talks casually. Will cannot tolerate it, so he rushes home with Laura. At home, he sees magnets on the fridge spelling choose, which terrifies him because he realizes Simon and his people can enter anytime and harm Laura. Will knows the threat is real and decides he must act. The next day, he goes to the bridge where Simon said the man would be. Will tries to reason with him, but the man panics and lifts his bicycle and throws it at Will. Will steps aside and the man falls off the bridge and dies instantly. Will is shocked and terrified, realizing how dangerous this path is and how Simon's organization operates. After the bridge incident, Will boards a bus home. When he returns to school, Simon calls and congratulates him, saying the agreement is over forever. Will is finally free but still feels guilty. While at school, he sees two kids fighting and tries to stop them but loses his patience and punches one. The boy is sent to the principal's office where Jimmy scolds Will and suspends him for a few weeks. Laura arrives furious, asking about her necklace, and leaves. Later, two police officers come and question Will about Alan's death. He denies knowing anything and asks for a lawyer. The officers leave and Lieutenant appears asking strange questions.
My favorite color is?
What the hell is this?
The hungry rabbit.
Hungry Rabbit Jones.
Got it.
But finally removes his handcuffs and warns Will to leave town before Simon finds him. Will understands Luton is connected to Simon and heads outside. Meanwhile, Laura tries calling Will, but his phone is with the police, so he manages to send a message to Trudy asking her to tell Laura that he will meet her at her rehearsal space the next day. The following day, he meets Laura and explains everything. She listens carefully and realizes the situation is serious and dangerous, so she gives Will all the money she has and hands over a recently bought gun for protection. Just then, police show up again and Will has to run quickly. He searches online to learn more about Alan and discovers that Alan was an investigative journalist working on a case about Simon, who runs a group that kills people. Now, Will finally understands why Simon wanted Alan dead and why he is in danger. Will notices Simon's men approaching, so he begins to run, using every shortcut he can find, and eventually outsmarts them by hiding under the bridge. Meanwhile, Laura finishes her rehearsal and a man approaches her claiming to be a detective. He says he can prove Will is innocent if she comes with him, but Laura quickly realizes they are lying, so she sprays their eyes with pepper spray and escapes safely. At the same time, Will is busy collecting evidence, starting at Alan's workspace. He finds files and information including a stack of gas station invoices showing where Alan used to go regularly. He visits the gas station, pays the attendant, and asks about Alan's routine. The attendant tells him about a storage room Alan often visited, so Will heads there and breaks in. Inside, he finds a boat filled with many items, and this discovery gives him more clues about Alan's investigation and Simon's criminal network. Through all this, Will realizes the danger is far from over, so he knows he must stay careful, protect Laura, and continue gathering evidence. Even though he is free from Simon's agreement, he still has a long way to go to uncover the truth and stop Simon's organization. Will carefully takes everything out of the storage room, including a CD. As he is busy, a newspaper arrives at the gas station and the front page shows Will's photo, which the shopkeeper notices too. When Will leaves the storage room, he sees police approaching, so he starts running, trying to dodge them. He manages to trick them a few times, but eventually one of their cars hits him and he escapes to another place. Once safe, he plays the CD and sees Alan interviewing the same man from the beginning of the story. The man explains everything about Simon. Then, Will finds another video showing Simon talking to Jimmy, so shocked he rushes to Jimmy's house, points a gun at him, and demands to know Simon's full name. Jimmy explains that he only helped Will before because of a promise after his brother's death, and that he had spoken to Luton to keep Will safe from the police. While Will is processing this, a man suddenly points a gun at him, claiming Will is an offender and threatening to kill him. Will quickly takes the gun away and realizes this is another trap set by Simon, who tricks people into thinking someone is guilty, so they attack them. Will notices the man probably once took help from Simon, which is why he fell into the trap, so he decides not to harm him and lets him go. Then he calls Simon directly and identifies him as Eugene Cook, a powerful businessman. Will tells Simon that he can give all the evidence to the police but does not want to get trapped. If Simon proves Will's innocence, he will hand over all the evidence. Simon agrees and gives him an address.
You're going to meet me at the Superdome, 5 o'clock tonight.
Meanwhile, Jimmy reaches Laura, but Simon's men have taken her hostage. Will arrives at Simon's place too. Simon shows Will a picture of Laura and tells him to follow instructions, so they go to an abandoned mall. Simon takes the CD from Will and orders his men to kill both Laura and Jimmy. Jimmy quickly pulls out a gun and starts shooting Simon's men, explaining that he joined Simon's group only to protect innocent people and never wanted to hurt friends. A gunfight breaks out and Simon shoots Jimmy. Seeing this, Will jumps to help him and they fight Simon together. Simon overpowers Will and is about to shoot him, but Laura, who is trained with her gun, shoots Simon perfectly and Simon dies instantly. Afterwards, Luton arrives and reassures them that no one will bother them, setting things up to make it look like Simon and Jimmy killed each other. Luton offers Will a place in his organization, but Will refuses. Later, the news shows that Will has been proven innocent and everyone knows the truth, that he didn't kill anyone. Will delivers the CD to one of Alan's friends, asking him to continue Alan's research. The friend agrees, but Will realizes that he might also be connected to the organization, so he understands that the group might never truly disappear, leaving him with a lingering sense of unease, and with that, the story ends.